Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session and this very special session of dtalks or Disruptive Literacy Talks. I'm your host, Mashood. As we continue to discuss and continue to see the build in momentum towards the new the national education policy, which has put a very important focus on primary education and especially developing foundational skills of children. It is important that we see what are some of the successes in primary education, foundational learning that have been achieved by different states, and what would be some of the learnings, some of the things that need to be kind of improved or need to have further discussion and elaboration and experimentation. An important aspect that we have to now cover is about how, because of the pandemic, which has seen many long periods of remote learning, what are some successes that have been achieved in the remote learning initiative? Because now going forward, we see that remote learning and online learning can actually be a useful tool as well. It can be an interesting opportunity to integrate online and remote learning in the day-to-day teaching learning as well. So we are very honored to have a very special guest joining us from Mizoram. He is the director of school education. He's leading the efforts of school education and in transforming school education in Mizoram. And he's going to present today on remote learning initiative in Mizoram, a cause against learning loss. So we would like to welcome Mr. James Lalrinchhana, the Director of School Education of Mizoram. Thank you, sir, so much for finding time today and for joining us on this forum to share your thoughts.
Thank you, Mashood. It's a pleasure for me to be here in the show. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, sir. So we would like to tell our audience that Sir has a presentation for us, and after the presentation, we'll also take up some discussion questions as well. So, sir, the stage is yours, and you may please share your screen as well.
Oh, thank you, Mashood. I hope it is visible now.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible. Yes. If you may
Okay.
like, you may use the
Yeah.
slideshow also, but like present the slideshow. But this is also very clear.
hmm
Yeah.
Okay, this is better, I think. All right. Okay, thank you. Let me start. Remote learning initiatives in Mizoram, a cause against learning loss is the topic. Uh, okay, first let me briefly tell where Mizoram is. Of course, we are one of the states in the northeastern India. We are bordering Myanmar and then Bangladesh. According to the 2011 census, there are 10 lakh 97 206 people in Mizoram. Our literacy rate is 91.33%. There are 11 districts, 3 autonomous district councils in Mizoram. First, we will go briefly on the education department as a whole. The School Education Secretariat commands education in Mizoram. Under this secretariat, Directorate of School Education, Directorate of State Council of Educational Research and Training (SCERT), and Mizoram Board of School Education (MBSE) are functioning together. Uh, it's like the three pillars, and together we uh, try our best to take care of education in Mizoram. So, Mashood, let me tell a bit about the Directorate Office. We have 11 district offices. That means 11 districts, as I mentioned earlier.
So, sir,
And yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the presentation is not moving forward. The slides, we are not able to see the
oh,
next slide.
okay. Um,
It is still on the first slide.
so let me start again. Okay,
Sure, sure.
okay. Just wait a minute. It will start again. Okay, Mashud, can you take over from there?
Sure, sure, sir. No issues. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just open
There's
the.
some problem from my side. Yes, very sorry about that.
No. Mm,
Yeah, it's coming.
okay. So, are you able to see this, sir? Are you able to see
Yes,
this?
yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, yes, sir. You may
Fine.
please proceed, sir.
Yes, okay. So as I said, school education department comprises of the three important offices. First, the Directorate of School Education, and then we have the Directorate of the SCERT, and then the Mizoram Board of School Education. So all these three entities are looked after by the Secretariat, which is taking up all the issues from the three directorates. Together, we work for the school education in Mizoram. Next, please. Next slide, please. Can you go to the next slide, please, Marshall? Right. Okay, we will now go to the education in Mizoram under COVID-19 pandemic. This is important, I feel, because we need to know the ground situation first. That will point to our discussion topics. Last year, COVID-19 disturbed every schools in every country, especially during May 2020. Mizoram also had to close down the schools, and then as soon as it was closed down, we prepared standard operating procedures (SOP). The SOP takes care of the things to be done by the parents, by the students, and by the teaching community. Uh, Everyone has a role for the safety of each and every person. So SOP was distributed and widely circulated to all whoever has been involved for the school system. Then school academic calendar usually starts in the month of April and ends in the next year, March 31st. But due to the loss of classes, loss of learning during the last year, we had to extend the academic calendar by 1 month. During 2020 to 21, it was increased by 1 month. And then we also decided that we have to decrease the school syllabus uh, by 30% so that the students can cope better. We, of course, were very careful in selecting which portion to be omitted, making sure that learning loss should not be affecting the outcomes that we require for each class. So, school syllabus was carefully considered and reduced by 30% due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Then private schools were instructed to reduce their fees by 30% so that we can take care of the hardships faced by many households. Uh, Very sad to say that many of the students, their incomes, the household incomes, had been very much adversely affected. So we had to reduce our school syllabus. We had to also reduce our monthly fees so that the students can uh, cope up. Private school monthly fees had to be reduced by 50% at that time. Now, at the current situation, it is only 30%. Then COVID-19 vigilance team uh, under education was formed so that we can monitor the vigilance side of the COVID pandemic. They go to schools and see what is going on, and COVID team, vigilance teams are very useful for monitoring our schools. Then the other important achievement we had done was that admission fees to class 11 in all the higher secondary schools were reduced by 30% from their respective existing admission fees. This is also to help with the uh, economic hardships caused by the pandemic. Then private schools were also directed not to collect more than 70% from their total respective tuition fees. Tuition fees would mean the monthly fees uh, to be paid by the students. So education system has to be uh, in line with economic conditions of the people. So we had taken a lot of views on this. Next, please. Yes, we had certain limitations to the implementation of remote learning here in Mizoram. First is the terrain of Mizoram. As you know, it's very hilly terrain. We have very poor infrastructures. Uh, Poor internet connectivity has been the major problem in the implementation of remote learning here. There are some districts having villages with no internet connectivity. Even local cable TVs cannot reach these villages. And then to top that, we have sometimes problems with power supply, especially during the rainy season. Due to landslides, the power supply system goes down. That means internet connectivity is also going down. So this is a major problem. And then a very important point which we have to note is the limited access to devices. Devices like mobile phones, television, or even laptops, computers. Our students are having a major problem because there are not enough devices to impart online classes or remote learning. Uh, like suppose in some households there are more than three students. So three students means you have to have enough devices to take care of all the classes. Then we have the isolated cases of indifference to remote learning, like some a few cases are there, like some parents are not taking uh, enough attention to provide the system devices to the students. So we are having these limitations to implementation of remote learning here in Mizoram. Next, please. Yes, we have. I will just show you a few figures here. From the primary to higher secondary, altogether we have the enrollment of 1,15,005 students. Then out of these, 61%, 61.69 have access to devices like TV, mobile phone, computers, etc. And then the remaining 38.31% of students are without access to devices. They do not have TV or mobile phone. They have to depend on the devices of their neighbors. So these are the problems on the access to digital devices. Okay, next. Now let me speak a bit about the measures to check learning loss. How do we check? How do we take up some ways and means to check this learning loss? The first is that the week-wise plans for secondary and higher secondary was prepared by the MBSE, the Mizoram Board of School Education. Uh, they have prepared all the learning materials which can be sent via WhatsApp, or it can be printed out and given out in prints to those without devices. So the same thing was taken up by the SCERT. They prepared 4-week alternative academic calendar for the elementary schools in Mizoram. Both these activities have tremendously helped in taking up the issue, addressing the learning loss. Here, the major role depends on the parents also, parents of the students. They also need to take active part in preventing this learning loss by helping their students to study at home, even by printing out and then in all these week-wise plans and the 4-week academic alternative calendar, we have step-by-step instructions. Especially this is for the young primary students who need acute help from their parents. So the point here to note, a very important point I feel is that for preventing the learning loss, we have to do a lot of home learning where every member of the family is involved. Next, please. The government of Mizoram took very important view on how to address this digital learning and how to address the learning loss. A committee was formed for preventing learning loss, this improvement of online education during prevalence of COVID-19 pandemic. So an important committee was formed, and committee prepared these guidelines for education during the prevalence of COVID-19. In this, instructions are there for the parents, for the students, and for the teachers. And the important thing here to note is that this addresses not only the digital device, the students having digital device, it also addresses those students without digital devices. So these guidelines has been very helpful in addressing our problems during this COVID-19 pandemic, wherein everyone has to stay at home and we cannot go to school. The teachers are also very much worried. The students are also very much stressed out. So education during this prevalence of COVID-19 pandemic has to be taken up with a new view in mind. Okay, next slide, please. So, what are the measures we have taken and we have been taking till date also to check the learning loss? The first very important thing is using the television. Broadcasting tutorial videos through television has been the major uh, initiatives we have taken, because Doordarshan Kendra can reach to homes all across the state, and on April 13th last year in 2020, um, Doordarshan Kendra Aizawl and the local cable channels started broadcasting tutorial classes prepared by the department. Uh, we selected very important topics in class 10 science and mathematics as a starter. And up till now, we have been preparing a lot of online classes, tutorial videos, which are still being broadcasted daily, and the students have benefited tremendously from this. In some households, in some villages, we have seen cases where the students gather together in homes where there are television sets so that they can eagerly wait for the channels to broadcast these tutorial videos. Then the broadcast continued every day from Monday to Saturday on DDK, ISOL, and then the local channels also broadcasted these tutorial classes at 2 p.m., 3:05 p.m., and 4 p.m. every day. And then there are individual schools where the teachers gather together, prepare their own videos. We have more than 200 such tutorial class videos for the students prepared by the individual schools. These have been very helpful, and all tutorial classes have been uploaded on the YouTube channel of School Education Department, Government of Mizoram, by the name Zirnagwang. So each student can go back to the classes, revise, and even visit their own studies again and again if they have access to YouTube. So this is an important tool which we have been using to check the learning loss happening every day. Next slide, please. Yes, one of the important measures is like online edu challenge. We have prepared weekly challenge for the elementary and the secondary school students and teachers. Even teachers also participate in this so that they can uh, actively use their mind. We are afraid, very much afraid, that the minds of the students will go idle, even the teachers also. Then that's why we prepared this weekly challenge for the elementary and the secondary school students and the teachers. And we have um, engaged students and teachers in productive time investment activities during this lockdown period, especially during the lockdown periods. So every week we announce the result, give away prizes, and this has been very helpful in keeping the students and the teachers active throughout these hard times. Next, please. Uh, One thing we need to address, very important, is those children without the devices. This is a major issue here also. As I mentioned earlier, we have prepared the 4 week alternative academic calendars for elementary schools in Mizoram in 2020-21. And then again this year we have the SCRT has again prepared such calendars to be utilized by all the elementary schools during the suspension of these normal classes. This has been very useful because those students without mobile phones, without laptops, without computers, even without televisions, these can reach their homes. The teachers print out such instructions, these academic calendars, and then these are followed up at home. So home learning has been monitored using this calendar. This week-wise plan has also been prepared by the MBSE for the higher classes, high school and the higher secondary school students. And as of today, there are 21 weeks. 21 weeks have been planned and given out so far by the MBSE for the high school and the higher secondary schools during the suspension of normal classes. Then We also disseminate printed learning materials to the students at their homes. And this has been very useful because those without devices cannot miss out on what is being learned by their fellow students. Then the development of bridge course for primary and middle schools by SCRT has been done to ensure that students have been taught with core components of their syllabi despite the closure of schools. This bridge course addresses the learning outcomes from each subject so that each class students will not miss what what has to be what is to be learned in that class, their core subject. And then confined classes have been conducted for a small group of children without access to digital devices. Here, we use the help of the community also. In Mizoram, we have the local level task force. Every village has that. These NGOs, village council members, teachers come together voluntarily and help to fight the COVID. So these local level task forces are very, very much useful in helping us observing the SOP, social distancing. With all those protocols, we have conducted confined classes for small groups of children without devices. The teachers go to these groups and teach them their studies, which they should not miss out also. And then inclusion of children without digital devices via their neighbors or their classmates with digital devices has been a very successful endeavors we have taken. Some like people also even donate their old devices to children who do not have such mobile phones for online classes. So these are the initiatives, some of the initiatives we have taken to address children without devices. Next, please. Yes, this is the end of the slide. I end my presentation here, Masood.
Thank you so much, James, sir, for this very wonderful presentation. It's truly remarkable to see the government also taking leadership, but also at the grassroots, we are seeing the communities taking responsibility. You talked about how donation of devices is happening. And how the local level task forces are being developed. So it's truly wonderful that this continuity in education has been a major focus of your team in Mizoram. So, and thank you for sharing these perspectives as well. So. One thing which we would love to learn more about is the this content which was being developed by the teachers. You talked about how on YouTube channels the content is being developed and it is being uploaded. And so, what was your observation, sir? Do you feel that did teachers, were they, what capacity building did they require to kind of reach this stage of creating content and uploading content? Or do you feel that was it like the younger teachers who were kind of taking more lead in the content creation part, or even the more experienced teachers or something who were looking at this? What was the experience of Mizoram, sir?
Yeah, this is very important because without the contents and then its delivery, we cannot access to all the children. We cannot give the correct uh, kind of quality education that we would hope to have. So, as far as we can see, younger generations have, of course, contributed a lot. They have stepped up and then they have learned. We have conducted a number of trainings for these teachers. Uh, Usually, we break them up in groups so that they can learn, especially for the science students where you require practical classes sessions. So this has become more important. Like you cannot write the formulas of all the symbols and signs just using Microsoft Word or some applications, but you need separate applications for that. So we have taken up a lot of training sessions for the teachers. We organize such training so that these teachers can develop the contents and then also to deliver them via different methods of apps and tools which are available with us.
uh, it's truly wonderful to see that teachers have taken so much initiative. It is not definitely not easy to do remote teaching learning, and especially in a geographical difficult geographical area like Mizoram. So it's truly wonderful to see teachers taking lead on that. And here, you talked about the learning losses as well, and you also mentioned about how the younger children, the primary school children, might
Yes.
often face a lot of challenges with self-learning, and parents have to play an important role. So, what is your assessment that when we talk about learning losses, how can such how are those losses is it only for primary school children, or are we seeing even for the upper primary and secondary children? Are they also facing any such kind of losses? And what is the approach being taken to deal with them? You talked about bridge courses also. So, any thoughts on any patterns emerging from learning loss?
Yes, learning loss we feel spreads all across for the primary, for the secondary, for the higher secondary also. Because unless we can continue our normal lives in the normal classes, there will be different levels of learning loss. This is, I think, we have to take extra care for the primary school students, the young new generations who are coming up. They have to learn numeracy, they have to learn alphabets, but without coming to classes, it has become a very difficult situation to address this problem. First, I feel what is important is that without normal class, we miss the audiovisual uh, facilities that we have in normal classes. Like if the young child has to learn colors or poems, like they need so much special attention than the higher classes who have more experience. So social skills and interaction with the peers also are missing because of this. We are missing the normal classes, so a lot of learning loss is happening. In terms of intensity, I feel the lower primary students have to be given more attention. Of course, this is true for even the higher secondary students who are to learn a lot of things. And yes, bridge courses have been very important to address this learning loss because we take up the issue of addressing the learning outcomes so that each and every student in each class will not miss out on the learning outcomes which they have to learn in that specific class. So this is an important issue, of course. Yes.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that, sir. And we saw some of the wonderful initiatives being taken by your department in remote learning initiatives with respect to broadcasts and the YouTube channels, and communication through many teachers are taking initiative to make WhatsApp groups, or reach out through SMS, phone calls. So many different kind of modalities are being used. Um, if we talk about online learning, remote learning, do you feel that this is some? I mean, we are aware of the challenges, but do you sense that this is something which can actually be part of mainstream education in the coming time, or do you think that online remote learning will just go away as soon as the pandemic is over?
Very interesting. I have been thinking that in some sense, even if we return to normal classes, many teachers and students may prefer remote learning also because it is like you can revisit the classes, as I said earlier, which has been like it's not possible with the normal classes. So there's every possibility that something new will come up after this COVID pandemic is over. We may still use a lot of this remote learning across the country because it has given so many advantages. It has so many beautiful advantages also. And of course, we cannot do away with normal class. That's the best still there is. Because in normal class, you, as I said earlier, you have to learn the social skills, how to move together in a group. So this is not possible on this online mode. And then moral values. Regarding moral values, I always feel that students are more, mm, what do I say? They are more receptive to the teachers. If the parents say you must eat the carrot, it is good for you. Like if the teachers say the same thing, they will believe more in the teachers. So we are also missing out a lot on the moral values, which has been possible in normal classes. Of course, you can teach in online classes, but we need to learn how to live together, how to socialize. Then, anyway, even if things comes to normal, as you have pointed out, we will still resort to online classes in future. I am very sure.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's very interesting point, and I think you've raised another important point, which is besides learning of the curricular things, there has to be socio-emotional skills and development, which really requires interaction with teachers among
Right.
students,
Yes.
and that definitely. That definitely is has to be, like an important aspect of any kind of recovery of learning losses that we're doing, because if socio emotionally you are not fine and stable, then it is so difficult to learn
Mm,
the curricular things.
very true.
um,
Very true.
Yes, sir. Here, sir, we would also like to kind of know more thoughts about how the education department is looking at the, like the geographical challenges which Mizoram
Mm,
brings in. You did mention that because of the hilly terrain and maybe because of
yes.
internet connectivity, there are certain challenges. Would you like to share a bit more about how these challenges are like sometimes put obstacles in the achievement of learning, and how are these being resolved at the government level? If you would like to share, please.
We have to address this very important issue because it is one of the major hurdles we are facing here in our state. As I mentioned, especially during the rainy season, our problems are multiplied because the problem of electricity comes up. Maybe sometimes landslides will take away some power lines. That's also happening a lot. And then uh, with all this, it adds up with, like households without devices have been a major issue here. Even if they have devices, even if they have internet connectivity, sometimes when there are more than three students in the household, or let's say even two students, but only with one digital device, we have that remote learning problem coming up. So how we devise is we split up the classes for the entire primary, middle schools, high schools, higher secondaries. There are possibilities that maybe a household will have each student in each section. So we start schools early in the morning. Let's say one will start early in the morning, and then the next will start after breakfast. So lunch, after lunch, then evening, nighttime. So from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. we staggered the classes. That's how we address this um, difficulty in devices. But the terrain and all this is very difficult. Our government has also been trying a lot. We have uh, requested the telecom department to have more activities in beefing up internet signals. They have been trying their best. We have at very high levels talks with the concerned departments to address internet connectivity. I am happy to say, of course, electricity is quite good here in our state, despite all the problems. But natural calamities like landslides, heavy rains, winds sometimes disrupt these things. Other than that, electricity is quite good. And our major problem is in the uh, weak or irregular or very weak signals in the internet. So this happens in most of even in big cities in big towns here due to terrain. I think it happens a lot here.
Right, sir. So thank you for sharing your perspectives on this. And it's again very interesting to see how this staggering of timings are being done. You're absolutely right when you said that, like we a lot of surveys at the national level show that there are, often the devices, there's only one device, but there can be more than one child in the house. And also there is the often the parent who has the phone needs that phone as well for their work. So it's
Yes.
truly wonderful that teachers are going out of their way to go and support the learning of children. So thanks for sharing this as well. Here we would like to ask you a couple of more questions. One was you talked
Mhm.
about how the community and the NGOs have kind of helped support the initiatives at the very local level, at the ground level. And
Right.
would you like to share a bit more about how about who are these organizations? How
Mm.
are they? What roles are they taking with respect to addressing the learning losses of children? And what initiatives are being taken? If you would like to share some more thoughts on that, please.
Yes, yes. Masud, this is very important, I feel, and I feel a lot on this also. I am happy to say we have a very strong community bond here because maybe we do not have any difficulty in the, like, there is no divides at all. This is the major thing, the strong community bond. We have the foremost organization called the Young Mizo Association, where everyone is involved, even office goers, whoever is there. Everyone is involved in the Young Mizo Association. The government, the Department of Education, has signed an MOU, a collaboration with this organization. In fact, this is the second year that this organization has adopted this, like they will help us in the education. So they request, they urge all the members to help in education. So be it whatever level of education, this, the YMA has been very, very strong and helpful. We have the best support from them. Like if I mention, we have branches in every villages, a YMA branch. So each branch will do something for education during these 2 years. They have done a lot. They have uh, taken up higher studies. They have taken up a lot of issues with the community. All, all like they have been trying to help the community in the field of education. So WAIME has been very helpful in addressing learning loss, addressing the problem of like devices also. They have been very helpful. Then there are some very good student groups here in Mizoram. We have the Mizoram Zirlai Pol, the MZP, and we have the Mizo Student Union, MSU. Both are actively taking part in promoting education. Like, especially just 1 month ago, there was a big program organized by the MSU where they selected some few students who are facing acute hardships. They have purchased mobile phones for these students and then distributed it to them. So this is just one instance. Even they have helped a lot. A lot. The MZP also has been very helpful. Uh, Even monetary donations have been taken up by these student groups to help their fellow students who are in dire need of help. So we have the other agencies also working with us. And of course, I have to mention again the local level task force and the village level task force. They have helped us a lot, even in midday meals. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, where we cannot even go across to a neighbor, so we still need to distribute the midday meals. So the local task force, the village level task force, they organize everything. They have even helped in distributing midday meals to the students in their homes. So in the field of education, uh, I am happy to say that we have the best cooperations from all these NGOs and these groups who are very cooperative. They have been very helpful. Even the church groups also are active here. They have uh, helped in many ways. Like, of course, during the pandemic, we all have to chip in. So, even in their instructions to the members, they have given instructions that we have to look into education, we have to help people to learn. Even adult learners are also helped by the NGOs, the church groups, and many, whoever is there chips in. So it's a big team.
Wonderful to learn about these initiatives, and I think this is something which is truly inspiring, and which other communities can also be inspired by and learn from, that during difficult times how organizations come together. And sir, in conclusion, I would like to know your thoughts on the role of parents, right? You For example, you did mention that, for example, some parents might not have completed their own education, but now they want their children to have the best education. And
Right.
like in India, this is a major challenge, because many parents, they sometimes don't feel very confident that they can make some impact in their child's education, because they themselves
Yeah.
have not had the opportunity to maybe complete their own education. So what is your thought on this? Like, if going forward, if we have to ensure that parents become important, how can we build confidence in parents that yes, you can make a positive impact on your child's education, even if you are not very highly educated? Your concluding thoughts on this, please.
Yeah. We cannot proceed without the active participation of the parents. This is very true because whatever we teach in the classes, the parents also are required to do a lot of things at home. What I would like to emphasize here is about home learning. During this pandemic, when we cannot return to normalcy for such a time, then we have to help each other. The parents have to do a lot of things at home, like home learning. They have to help their child in studying. But as you have said, maybe they are not literate. Uh, but how do we involve them in education? First, what we do here is like we have the school managing committee, the management committee of the schools, where we include these representatives from the parents. And I have seen that this is a very good gesture for connecting with the parents. So many times we also need to have the parents, teachers meet of such kind of things where we get together and share our problems, involve the parents more. Even in our standard operating procedures for the COVID pandemic in education, we have given due importance to the parents and their roles. We have translated into the local language and which everyone can read and understand. So in that way, my point is, in order to get the best help from the parents, we need to involve them in education. more and more. Even if they are not literate, we can still get a lot of help from them. Like, let us see, just in one midday meal situation, we have to prepare a midday meal garden. So we involve the parents to come and maybe they provide the seeds to plant. Sometimes they help in weeding. So all this kind of activity together with the parents and the teachers, whenever they come together, there are always discussions among themselves, discussion about their child. So they have the best exposure. So I think the main thing is to involve the parents as much as possible in education in the schools. If they have a part to play in the schools, it will be very useful. And one thing I want to again mention is the involvement of the village councils. Here we have in each village education committee, where the village council president is the chairman. So the village council has been very helpful in bringing in the involvement of the parents, because uh, parents are like connected with the village councils. So whatever they decide, whatever they work together in education, we always, whenever it is that, we have the best results in all the villages. So uh, my opinion is that in order to get the best results for the students, I think we need to involve the parents more in the school activities, in how to take care of their children, how to address their problems. So the children need their parents. We also need the parents so that we can reach to the child. So we should involve them more in the school activities.
Thank you indeed very much, sir, for sharing this very positive message that we often hear also when we are working on literacy and with parents who are not from a very privileged background. So that developing that confidence is one very important thing. And your message actually that there is so much contribution that they can do, because to care for your children, you don't really necessarily have to be literate to ask them to engage them to develop their social emotional skills. One To be a good parent, you don't need to necessarily be completely literate for that as well. So it has been truly wonderful and extremely refreshing to hear this very unique perspectives from you, sir, and the work which your team is doing at the Department of Education is truly commendable. We At the end, we will also like to take one or two audience comments. So we have Dr. Lalrinchhana ma'am, who's saying that a development of teaching learning materials is praiseworthy, so as to do away many of the problems facing during the pandemic. So that's true that it has been truly appreciable how teachers and the government initiatives are being taken for the content creation. And we have one audience member who's saying a nice by the students for the students, a big cheer for these students. It is true that the idealism of the young children are being shown at this difficult time where they're helping each other. So once again, Mr. James Lalrinchhana, it has been truly wonderful to listen to you, and we thank you again for joining us here on dtalks.
It is a privilege for me, such a wonderful experience in sharing all these ideas. I hope it is useful for everyone. Thank you very much, Mashud. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was an